I would like to compare, let's say, the Bible with the Quran, just to get a basic picture. Number one, the Bible is a historic book. It contains a lot of history, and that history has been corroborated by the spade of the archaeologist. The science of archaeology is a very young science, and basically it really only kicked off around about 1844, when it was possible to translate some of the cuneiform writings and decipher the hieroglyphics, etc. So the Bible historically has been attacked in many instances, but it has been corroborated, and the excavations that are taking place in the Middle East are just amazing on that level. The Quran, on the other hand, is not really a historic document as I read it. And some of the history is different, or let's say, if compared to the Bible, one or the other must be out of sync, if I can put it that way, to put it mildly. Then the Bible also is a book of salvation. And the Bible is a book of prophecy. And again, the Quran is a description of events and a description of Allah and the relationship between Allah and His people. But it is not a prophetic book in the sense that the Bible is a prophetic book with very distinct prophecies, very distinct timelines. And these prophecies not only affect kingdoms and powers that would arise on this earth and those that would play prominent roles in the history of humanity, culminating in the setting up of the kingdom of God. And then the Quran and the Bible differ in terms of the central figure. The central figure in the Bible is the Messiah. And you read the prophecies of Daniel, and they are very accurate prophecies, like Daniel chapter 8 and 9, that tell you exactly the year in which the Messiah would be born, what his mission would be. And then you pick it up in the New Testament, and Christ fulfills every single one of those prophecies. And they are exceedingly precise prophecies with timelines and events. And it also talks about the changeover from Israel, literal Israel, to spiritual Israel. And it all revolves around this Messiah who in the New Testament is identified as Jesus Christ. And the big problem there for Islam, or compared to Islam, is that this Messiah is divine. So Jesus Christ is described in the Bible as the divine Messiah. And John makes it quite clear, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that He is the Creator, the one who spoke everything into existence. Whereas Islam recognizes Him only as a prophet. And then there are certain powers which are portrayed in the book of Daniel and in the book of Revelation, that talks about a distorted Christianity that would be presented to the world, a false picture which Paul referred to as a falling away, and that another power would present itself as a Christian power, and the Reformers referred to that as the Antichrist, whom they identified with the papal system. Now, none of that history is in the Quran, and none of that timeline or prophecy is in the Quran. So basically, you're dealing with people. Jesus is mentioned in the Quran. His mother is very prominent in the Quran. In fact, his mother is elevated to the position of the highest woman in heaven in the Quran. So we have some parallels and some issues, but Jesus is only recognized as a prophet. And there's only one God, and that is, according to the Quran, Allah. And it is actually an insult to have Jesus elevated to the position of deity, or even for him to sacrifice his life for sins, which is an insult to Allah, because he needs no such machinations in order to save humanity. He can just do it by decree. So there are very distinct differences. And Shahbaz, from what I have studied on this issue, is that the Quran is very similar in its theology, or the attributes of Allah are very similar in their theology to what is presented by the Roman Catholic system. And therefore it is a reflection of Roman Catholicism. So in that sense, there is a link between this so-called Christianity and the Quran. But is the God of Catholicism the same God as that of the Bible? And here we have a link, because the people out there want to have the deities the same, that Allah really is just another name for the same God that we have in Christianity. No, he has the same attributes as the Catholic portrayal of God. But it doesn't have the attributes that are portrayed in the Bible. And if we can look at some of the similarities, perhaps that would make it clearer, and you must please give your comments regarding this. Number one, the Quran denies the atonement. Catholicism denies the atonement. Catholicism teaches that Christ never died for you. He brought the perfect sacrifice by obedience, but not for you. You have to pay your own sins in Catholicism, because you have to go to a place called purgatory where you pay for your own sins. Therefore, Christ in Catholicism is not the sin bearer. He's not the one who takes the penalty of sin, the wages of sin is death, upon himself. No, he was just obedient unto death, but he never took the penalty of sin upon himself in Catholicism. And therefore, Islam, when it teaches that there is no atonement, that is a charade, it's the exact same doctrine as Catholicism. That's a core doctrine. When it comes to issues like Mariology, the Quran elevates Mary above all the other women in the Quran, even putting her above Fatima. And then you have all of these connections. You have a place called Fatima in Catholicism, where Mary is the pivotal point. And I've been to the Middle East, where there are shrines where Islamic pilgrims come to communicate their wishes to Mary. So this is very similar to what we have in Catholicism. So there's no atonement. And then the other thing is that Jesus is just a mere prophet in the Quran, as Muhammad was a prophet in the Quran. And in Catholicism, Jesus is basically a created being, because Catholic teaching says that he was generated by the Father. So that makes him a created being. So that would put him on the same level as everybody else, and he can be a prophet, but he cannot be what the Bible claims that he is. So as far as I am concerned, the God of Islam is the same, or let's put it this way, is the God with the same attributes as that of Catholicism. But that's not the God of the Bible.